The wait is almost over. The 2017 NFL Draft is this week, this Thursday. My name is Matt Martinez, joined as always by Grant Baker and Rob Paul, and this is the Dash to the Draft podcast, brought to you by Armchair All-Americans. This is going to be our final show before the draft, so we're going to be doing a quick mock draft of the top 10. We're not going to do an entire mock draft. We're just going to do the top 10. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going one by one. And we're going to be projecting.
Oh, by the way, since you're cutting this, I'll do Cleveland's, and then we'll go Matt, and then Matt will do number 2, Rob will do number 3, and then I'll do number 4. How's that sound?
Yeah.
So have the list of teams that are picking in front of you, if you can.
Okay, and then we'll just alternate.
Yeah.
Yep. This is our final show before the draft, so we're going to be doing a quick top 10 mock draft, and we're going to go one by one. And then we're going to be covering some other miscellaneous draft thoughts. So let's just go ahead and get started real quick. All right. So the Cleveland Browns are picking at number 1 overall. All right. So number 1 overall is the Cleveland Browns. So Grant, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Right. So the clear-cut pick is Myles Garrett. It's the obvious choice. You cannot pass on Myles Garrett if you're the Cleveland Browns, especially to take Mitch Trubisky. I said this before. If they pass on Garrett to take Trubisky, it's the worst decision in the history of that franchise. And I say that understanding the history of that franchise. Size, speed, explosiveness, length. You pair him with Ogba in that 4-3 defense as your defensive ends. You got a really nice pass rush for years to go. Hello.
Does Matt know he's muted?
Hey, Matt, you're muted, bro.
Nope. Fuck. All right, I'm going to be doing the San Francisco 49ers, and they are picking at number 2 overall. And this is really the first pick of the draft since Myles Garrett has been pretty consensusly been going to the Browns at number 1. Ideally, the 49ers would want to trade out of this, but I don't think any team would want to trade up with how deep this class is. So I think they are going to be kind of quote-unquote stuck at number 2. And I'm thinking – oh, shit. So I know who they're going to take. I'm just trying to phrase it. So the 49ers are going to be quote-unquote stuck at number 2. And they're going to be taking Solomon Thomas.
Solid pick.
And,
I really like him as the end with those 2 big tackles in the middle of the line.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, building the defense from the inside out with that D-line, you throw Thomas on there, and I think Buckner proved as a rookie he's the real deal. Even Armstead has been just okay, but putting Buckner and Thomas on that D-line, that's pretty scary.
Okay, Rob, do you want to go and take number 3?
Yeah, so the Bears, I think most people in their mock drafts have Marshawn Lattimore locked in there, and I also do. He's just a freak athlete for a corner. His hips are so smooth. His feet are so quick. He's a playmaker out there. I don't know that he'd be a shutdown corner, but it's the next best thing as just a freak athlete on the outside who can kind of cover all over the place.
Okay, Grant. Just keep going. Like once someone's done.
Very cool. So I have the Jags at 4. Clearly, the best player available is Jamal Adams. For me, at least, I know a lot of people want Fournette to be taken here, but I don't think that Jacksonville has the offensive line to block for Fournette, and so I think taking Fournette would kind of be like wasting him. So I'm going to say Jamal Adams, a safety at LSU. Phenomenal leader, great athlete, very technically sound, can tackle, he can cover. Just really an all-around stud at safety.
Yeah, and Jamal Adams, By taking Jamal Adams, the Tennessee Titans are going to Jamal Adams is the Tennessee Titans guy. So with him gone, the Cleveland Browns, I know they're trying to get Mitch Trubisky, and the New York Jets are a possible landing spot for Trubisky. So the Cleveland Browns are going to trade up to number 5 and leapfrog the New York Jets.
Really, what do you think they would have to give up to get to 5?
Number 12 and a second round and probably some change.
Yeah, I mean, even if they gave up 33 and 12, I don't think that'd be enough. They'd probably give up a first rounder next year, or maybe another second rounder. Both their second rounders this year and a second rounder next year might do it, but they're definitely going to have to give up some ammunition to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 7 spots, but it is a top 5 pick.
And I think that'd be a huge mistake for Cleveland. Just don't give away picks in such a deep class to get a quarterback who isn't worth a top 10 pick.
I do
So
too.
true. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's good, but I think Cleveland definitely trades up in the first round to take a quarterback.
Oh, I fully see it happening. I just think it's so the wrong move and such a Cleveland move.
Yeah, and this is what we think teams will do, not what we think. This is what we think will happen and not what we think should happen.
And with the Jets getting leapfrogged for the quarterback, I don't think they're looking at a Kaiser, a Watson, or a Mahomes here. And I do think this is where Leonard Fournette falls if he gets past Jacksonville. It just gives the Jets at least something to rely on offensively because they don't have much. If Josh McCown's their quarterback and their top receivers are Eric Decker, who's had health issues, and Quincy Enunwa, behind that offensive line, there's just not a whole lot going on. Matt Forte's too old at this point to be relied upon. Leonard Fournette's a game changer in the backfield, and for a team like the Jets, he's going to take 300 carries as a rookie. I just think it's the best move, and I think it's a move that could save Todd Bowles' job.
Well, the Chargers are ecstatic that you did that because now they get their guy, Malik Hooker, to fall to them at 7. Gus Bradley coming over from Jacksonville. He runs that 4-3 defense in the front with the cover 3 in the back end. He loves having that playmaking safety that can go side to side like Earl Thomas. I think they would love to have Malik Hooker fall to them at 7, and they would snatch him up right away. Just ridiculous ball skills and range for a free safety.
This podcast absolutely loves Malik Hooker, and I really hope he does actually fall to the Chargers because he's so perfect for them.
Absolutely perfect for him. I agree.
And Carolina's kind of in a spot because I know Carolina would ideally want Fournette or Solomon Thomas. But with both of those guys gone, they can either go one of 2 ways, either Christian McCaffrey or Cam Robinson, both which would be reaches, but both guys have been linked. Well, Christian McCaffrey has been linked a lot to Carolina, and Cam Robinson is one of the top players at a position of one of their biggest needs. So with the 8th pick, the Carolina Panthers are going to take Christian McCaffrey.
Nice. I think Robinson would fit for them. I think he would be a good player for them, but I think that it would be a bit of a reach at 8, and McCaffrey would be a better player. The other guy that's getting slept on is Derek Barnett. I mean, I know he didn't really test that well at the Combine, but if you compare like what he has done at the Combine and in college to what Terrell Suggs did in the Combine and at college, I think it's really similar as far as being that great technician who maybe doesn't have the explosive firepower.
And that's a terrific introduction to the 9th overall pick here for the Bengals. If Derek Barnett's on the board, and I think he probably will be if Hooker goes to the Chargers, and I don't know that the Panthers are necessarily targeting him, but I think Barnett's on the board for the Bengals. They're taking him all day long. He was just dominant in the SEC for 3 years. He, like Grant just said, he's not the best athlete, but he's got the bend to get to the quarterback. He's got the best hands as a pass rusher in the draft, and he put him on the line with Geno Atkins. That's exciting.
So that leaves the Bills at 12. Now, I would say Garyon Conley, but there is We're recording this on Tuesday. This morning, a report broke that a woman is accusing him of raping her in a Cleveland hotel, which is obviously a horror. He has not been convicted. He has not been arrested or charged with anything yet. But at the same time, that is a big, big red flag for any team. And John Allen has fallen to them at 10. I know they have Marcel Darius, who was better early on in his career than he was maybe last year. But Kyle Williams is old, and I'm sure they would love to have John Allen to pair with Darius there, as Allen's versatility, his ability to rush the passer, stop the run, just complete prospect all around, if not for the shoulder issues that he's had. I think they'd love to have Allen at 10 in Buffalo.
Yeah, and he'd be a great fit there. I could even see him kicking out and playing a little bit of end with Williams and Darius on rundowns. Like, that'd just be a really cool defensive line to build around.
All right, so that's our top 10 mock draft. We got Myles Garrett going to the Browns at number 1, Solomon Thomas to the 49ers, Marshawn Lattimore to the Bears, Fournette to the Jaguars, the Browns trading up with Tennessee to number 5 to take Trubisky, Leonard Fournette to the Jets, Malik Hooker to San Diego.
The Los Angeles Chargers, not the San Diego Chargers.
Close enough. Derek Barnett. Oh, I'm sorry. Christian McCaffrey to the Panthers, Derek Barnett to the Bengals, and Jonathan Allen to the Bills.
Pretty solid.
That's going to happen because we're never wrong. So moving on, what we want to talk about is just some general kind of questions that each of us is going to answer. So why don't both of you guys give me one player who you think is going to bust out of this draft class?
So I'll go first here. I've said this on one or two podcasts before. I'm really worried about Takk McKinley. I see the all-pro potential that scouts have raved about. I see that explosiveness, that just incredible athletic ability. But one of the things I like to do is watch previous prospects from previous drafts to see what they looked like in college, whether or not they succeeded. Let me restart. I'm going to go with Takk McKinley because I think he looks a lot like Deion Jordan. And I know that is a very bold statement to make, but I've watched Deion Jordan's tape from when he was in college. I've seen McKinley's tape when he was in college, obviously. And I see a lot of similarities when I watch the tape as far as what can he do against the run, how raw he is. So I'm really worried about that. Obviously, he could be an all-pro guy with that athletic ability that he has. But I'll say Takk McKinley is a bust for me.
Yeah, I see the problems with Takk McKinley, but I think I'm a little bit higher on him. I think his explosiveness, because I know what such a raw type of player can turn into. And I just think it depends on what team takes him and is able to mold with him. Rob, do you want to give us your bust?
Yeah, so I also have a pass rusher here, and I picked Taco Charlton out of Michigan. He's big, he's athletic, but I don't see the production on tape. He'll make a few splash plays a game, but then I just find he disappears, and he'll get manhandled in the run game at times. And I think a guy that big and that athletic should have been more dominant. I don't think he has the ability to stand up in a 3-4 either, so it kind of pigeonholes him to being just a 4-3 defensive end, which isn't like a big deal, but I've kind of Grant mentioned this, I don't know, a few podcasts ago that maybe like Washington at 17 takes him as a 5 tech. And I actually really prefer Taco as a 5 tech than I would as a 4-3 end. But I'm not sure a team's going to try him there. And I don't see him as a first round talent. I have a second round grade on him, and I've seen him going as high as like 15 to the Colts, maybe even higher, and I just don't see it.
Okay. Grant, do you have anything to say about that?
I like Taco. I mean, I understand what Rob's trepidation is. The production was really lacking at Michigan, but I don't think he'll be a bust. I think he's a good player. I think he's got good tools, the hand usage, the size. He's pretty explosive, and he's got, like I said, he has good hand usage, but he also has good moves. He's got a spin move. He's got a rip move, a swim move. So I think that diversity will allow him to at least be a good player in the NFL.
I like Taco because he's got a really cool name.
That's a great reason.
So,
what about you, Matt? Who do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Malik McDowell, not because I don't think he's talented. I think he's one of the most talented players. And I can easily see him going to Washington at pick 17 or a number of different teams. But his character concerns really kind of have made an impact on me, just because he literally said to reporters that coaches at Michigan State had to conform to him, and I don't think he's very coachable.
I've heard multiple reports, multiple teams and multiple reports say he was the worst interview at the combine. Like, he was awful.
And I mean, part of it depends on what locker room he goes into. But if he doesn't, I feel like if he's not in the perfect scenario, he's going to flame out fast.
He's also got a bad attitude from what I've understood too. He doesn't take criticism very well. He's got the top 15 talent for sure, but that attitude, that work ethic, and that character is terrifying for me.
When the Redskins take him at 17, it'll be a match made in hell, and I can't wait.
That'll be interesting. Okay. So next, what I want to do is I want to ask you guys about. I want you guys to give me a player who should go in the first round, but will not. Rob, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I have Budda Baker from Washington, and I think his size is the only thing that works against him. He's only 5'10", 180 pounds, but he plays a lot bigger than that. He puts his body on the line to make plays as a tackler. He's a good enough athlete that he can play as a single high or come down and cover as a nickel. Steal of the draft because of his versatility. Give me the guy who can line up single high in the nickel or even in the box and play his heart out over the bigger athletic freaks. I want the guy who showed up all day on tape rather than a guy they're drafting him for the physical traits. I really love Budda Baker, and he could potentially go in the first round, and I think he should, but I don't know. I haven't been seeing enough hype about him.
Yeah, I really like Budda Baker, and I wouldn't – if Budda Baker went 19th to the Buccaneers, I wouldn't be that shocked, to be honest.
I like Baker as well. He's got a great last name. But I'm really worried about his injury concerns because how many safeties that are 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", and 200-nothing pounds are going to come out and be dynamic and love to hit people and get hurt. Tyrann Mathieu, obviously, is the big one with those ACL injuries he's had. Carl Joseph for the Raiders, very talented player, it looks like, but walking medical file. And there are other examples as well. That really scares me as far as how can his body hold up at the next level.
Okay, and Grant, what about you? Who's your guy?
Mine's going to be Zay Jones out of East Carolina. Best route runner in the draft, ridiculous production even against Power 5 schools like South Carolina. Just stupid route running ability, understands every nuance about it, how to flatten out his routes, how to stem his routes, very quick coming in and out of his breaks. I think he's a first-round talent, but I think he falls into that first half of the second round. A team like the Rams, I'm sure, would love to have him to get a go-to receiver. He has, and I hate using this comparison, but he has like Jerry Rice ability to get open in the NFL, I think. And I love receivers that can get open over receivers who are more physically dominant but don't run clean routes, guys like Mike Williams or Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think that Zay Jones is a first-round talent, but I think he goes in the first 5 to 10 picks of the second round.
Really? You think he goes that early?
I mean, I think just based off of fit, I think a team like the Rams would love to have a pass catcher. The Cardinals, I know they're a little bit later. They would love to have a pass catcher. So would Carolina. Guy to get open underneath. Not even underneath. Just he's always going to be open. I think in the next level.
Zay Jones.
He could use a little more size, add some weight, but he's so quick. Like I just don't see corners being able to cover him, especially zone corners.
He won't get past the Rams. I guarantee it. He's the playmaker they need more than anything. They have Robert Woods as their number one receiver. Zay Jones runs like a 4.45. He's 6'1", 212. Best hand, best routes. Zay Jones should be a first-round pick. It's just there's not a lot of receiver need, I don't think, in the first round. And he won't get past the Rams.
Okay. And when I was can't talk today. And for me, what I wanted was I wanted to pick Chidobe Awuzie just because he hasn't gotten a lot of first round hype, but he was invited to the combine. I think he's a really good he's a decent athlete.
He was invited to the draft, you mean?
Yeah, shit. Yeah, I wanted to go with Chidobe Awuzie because he was invited to the draft, which is always only really some of the top guys who are kind of expected to go are invited to the draft. When I was watching him, I thought he was really good at kind of mirroring wide receivers, and he's got pretty flexible hips. And so I really like Chidobe Awuzie. But with this recent allegations of Garyon Conley could very well fall out of the first round and possibly even the draft, depending on what teams find and what what happens. Obviously, I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm just saying it could happen. And so I think that might jump Chidobe Awuzie into the first round. Another guy possibly who I was thinking about was maybe Obi Melifonwu, who I know he's gotten a little bit more of a first round hype, but he's still a guy that I can see falling out of the second round, who could also and probably
explosive guys always go higher than technical guys. Like, I mean, if you got that explosive athlete, there's a thing called a 3 sigma athlete, which means that they're in the third standard deviation. So that's 99.87 percentile among their position. Melifonwu is the first guy since Byron Jones. In the NFL, the only guys that in the NFL right now that are 3 sigma athletes are J.J. Watt, Byron Jones, and somebody else. Calvin Johnson was as well, but he recently retired. But athletes like that are first-round picks.
Yeah, but, like I said, I was going to go with Chidobe. And this thing kind of screwed me up. So why don't we go ahead and reverse it now? And who do you guys think is going to go in the first round but shouldn't? Grant, you want to start us?
Yeah, so I was initially going to go with Mitchell Trubisky, but then I thought about shouldn't go in the first round. I don't think he should be a top 15 pick. I understand if you want to take him at the back end of the first round, though. So I'm actually going to change my answer a little bit. I'm going to go with Adoree Jackson out of USC because I know a lot of scouts really love this guy. Almost every mock draft has him going in the first round because he's got that incredible speed. He was a dynamic playmaker at USC. I am really worried about his footwork. He has very, very slow feet for a corner, and he has short arms and is undersized in general. That really worries me. He could still be a really good player. By no means am I condoning him. But when you're undersized, you tend to move to nickel. But since he has really bad footwork, that means you're probably not going to be able to work out as a nickel, so he's going to have to play outside. And I think that means that bigger receivers are just going to beast and feast on him, so to speak. So I have him as my 48th overall player right now because of that, but I think he'll go in the first round even though he should.
Okay, and Rob, what about you?
So sorry, Matt, but Patrick Mahomes is my guy here. I get lesser quarterbacks getting considered for the first round because it's a position that so important. Guys get overdrafted, especially in a weak class like this. I see an argument for Mahomes to be a second round pick because he's got the size, he's got the best arm I think I've ever seen, and he's a solid athlete. I just can't buy into taking a project quarterback in the first round. And his mechanics are a mess. The ball comes out of his hand like with a 3/4 release. And even if a coach buys into the traits and thinks the mechanical issues can be fixed without taking away from the arm strength, he's still coming out of that Texas Tech air raid system. And it's a quarterback friendly system that doesn't like the quarterback's not making many adjustments at the line or really reading a defense. And the receivers run like option routes. And I just think there's way too many questions, more questions than answers revolving Mahomes. And I just can't buy into him as a first round pick.
Well, you're wrong, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to make too big of a deal of it. I'm going to go with Jabril Peppers, and I know I'm very negative on Jabril Peppers, and I want to like the guy because he's super likable from all the interviews and stuff that I've seen, and the fact that the reason why he played that safety linebacker position at Michigan was to help his team, and he knew it was going to hurt his draft stock, but he did it anyways. So I really want to like the kid, but he's constantly mocked to Pittsburgh, and that just makes me dislike him because I don't think he's worth a first round pick in the first place. He doesn't have that much production. He's only had like one interception and like 9 or 10 pass breakups in his career at Michigan, and then he can't get off blocks, and that kind of scares me, especially for that position, because people are talking about him filling that Troy Polamalu type role. They're not comparing the two, but they're saying he can fill in that role, and Troy Polamalu could get off blocks. He can't.
Troy Polamalu can do everything.
Troy Polamalu could do everything. Yeah, exactly. And Jabril Peppers there are sometimes, occasionally he'll back up away. He'll back up out of the camera because a blocker's coming up to block him, and he'll back up out of the camera, not because he's afraid or he's not physical enough, but because he knows he can't get off that block. And so that scares me. And he hasn't proven that he's any good in coverage. I mean, there's questions about his coverage ability as well, just because he hasn't done that. He wasn't really asked to do that too much at his position, which makes me obviously from a Steelers perspective, they're looking for an impact guy, and I don't think he's going to provide as big of an impact day one.
He's also got the diluted sample drug test, which is an issue. And that's something I kind of wanted to get into real quick, is just how many guys at the very end that were first-round prospects within a week of the draft have had massive off-field questions come up. First it was Reuben Foster, came out that he had the dilute sample for his drug test. Then Jabril Peppers has the exact same thing. And I know with Peppers he had to work out at 2 different positions for the combine, both linebacker and defensive back. So I can understand if he wanted to just chug a ton of water to make sure he's hydrated. And then finally, you've got the Garyon Conley allegation, which, again, we have almost no information on. We just know that it's an alleged rape incident, which is not something you can take lightly at all, obviously. But every year there's going to be at least 1 or 2 guys that has something like this happen during draft week. Another guy, Caleb Brantley, assaulted a woman a couple weeks ago, and that story has finally come out. So it's going to happen every year where a prospect does something really stupid the week of the draft. But this year it feels like more people of a higher caliber have done it.
Yeah, if I was a draft eligible player, I would sit in my home and play Madden all day. And just
Lock
not
yourself in a gym and run drills the whole time.
I would play Madden, which I guess explains why I'm not.
Just to quickly touch on the diluted sample for the failed drug tests, I don't personally take much into account there because it's more of an inconclusive thing than anything else. I don't know if you guys saw the Browns tackle Joe Thomas tweeted. He's had a diluted sample before, and the NFL, once you're in the NFL, they just make you retake the test because it's an inconclusive test. Versus at the combine, if it's inconclusive, they don't have you retake the test. And I just think the whole thing's very bizarre, and I'm not gonna bang a guy for an inconclusive drug test.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't mention it, because obviously I don't think Jabril, like I said, Jabril Peppers, I think is a really nice guy and really high character. So I don't think he would have failed it if it wasn't diluted. That being said, he is going to be going into the NFL substance abuse program, which, if he oversleeps and misses a drug test, he's suspended. So that's just kind of something to take into consideration going forward.
Yep.
Okay. So that's pretty much our show. Real quick, since the draft is on Thursday, let's get a bold prediction. Let's go around and get a bold prediction from everyone.
Okay, so I'll go first. My bold prediction is that Terrell Basham out of Ohio University is going to be a first-round pick. And I know you're probably saying, who on earth is that? Why would he be a first-round pick? I saw a leaked draft board that had him as a first-round grade, and I cannot confirm the validity of the report. I personally have him as a third-round grade. I think Rob does as well. He's got a lot of issues I don't like, but he does do some things really well. So Terrell Basham sneaks into the back end of the first round in the last couple of picks. That's my bold prediction.
That's a bolder prediction than I was going to come with, so I'm going to up mine a bit. Originally, I was going to say 25 DBs in the first 3 rounds, but I'll go 30 DBs in the first 3 rounds.
That's ridiculous. That's for those of you. That's 30 out of 96, so it's almost 1 out of 3.
This class is deep.
Deep. It evens it back.
Well.
Wait, Matt. Can I plug my board and Rob's mock real quick?
Yeah. Let me do mine, and then.
Okay. Cool.
I'll ask. So mine is going to be that. See, I was thinking about. Okay. See, I had trade. Now I'm trying to think which one I should do. Okay. So mine is going to be that Brian Allen, the cornerback out of Utah, goes in the 3rd round. I know a lot of people have him as kind of a late day 3, but the guy's like 6'3", one of those high athleticism type guys, all the intangibles, and I've heard that a lot of people really like him. So Brian Allen out of Utah, round 3. And if you want to talk about first round, then 6 trades.
That's about typical of what happens in a given draft. I think it averages like 6 or 7 a year.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking 3 in the first. 3 in the top 10.
I don't think there's going to be that many trades in the top 10 because there's not enough teams that want to move up.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about.
The front half of the draft is kind of weak, and there's not a surefire quarterback.
Yeah, I'll probably just cut that out. All right, so that's going to do it for our final show before the draft. Are we coming back next week after to talk about it?
Yeah, we'll do a post-draft show.
Okay. So we're going to be back next week and just kind of wrap up our thoughts on the draft. Do you guys want to plug anything real quick?
Yeah, I've got my final big board coming out before the draft. I might also have another article that comes out that's draft related, so keep your eye out for that one. But I'm going to rank the top 100 prospects in my mind in this year's class, and that'll be out probably on Wednesday, maybe Thursday.
Okay. As always, you guys be sure to check out all of our content on armchairallamericans.com. Be sure to follow the Armchair NFL Twitter account, Armchair NFL. We're going to be tweeting out articles about every player that's drafted in the first round, as well as wrap-up articles for every subsequent round, as well as we're just going to be tweeting. Our Twitter account is awesome to follow if you don't follow us already.
We're also going to have graphics of the new players and with their teams and stuff like that. It's going to be lit. You're going to want to see it.
Yeah, so make sure to go follow at Armchair NFL, at AC All Americans. Be sure to join us next week for our wrap-up podcast. Until then, enjoy the draft.